Hey guys, and welcome back to part 10 of our web design tutorial. And I'm really starting to like making these tutorials because now that I finally taught you guys the basics of this, of how to code, and I finally taught you guys CSS, our webpage is actually going to look really good now. Why is it showing an error? I wonder what the problem is. Whatever. It's probably because. Anyways, so in the last part, I basically taught you guys about how to code with CSS and how to make your webpage look cool. And I taught you guys that in order to do that, we use this thing called the style tag, and which takes the attribute of type, and inside the type we have to just type text/CSS. Okay. Now, first, before we begin, I just want to tell you guys, web pages can get pretty advanced. They have like a million different lines of code in each page. So, it could get pretty drastic, having to write millions and billions of lines of code. And more importantly, when you have to edit it, it'd be even worse. Which is why the people who the W3C, which is basically people who maintain and write HTML, they've basically decided to teach us to include these things called comments. Now, comments basically are like little notes to yourself or the web designer to basically about what happens where. For example, I'd keep a comment right here that, and a comment tag, by the way, is exclamation point to dashes, and a comment exclamation point in that. So that's basically a comment. I'd say something like, main content begins here, because I'd have so many things right here pretty soon that, just be like, okay, right here is when the main content begins, and then yeah. So we use comments in writing for more things than just to help us out a little bit when we're writing code. Basically, comment tags are ignored by the browser, and browser types, like I said before, can vary in there can be like Internet Explorer 9, Internet Explorer 4, Netscape Navigator from back in the day. Many people, like, each browser of the internet could have a different browser that he or she prefers to use. And some of these older browsers tend to not support certain tags. Style, for example, is not supported in some browsers. So what happens if we start specifying, things in things to do with styles? Let's say we want to specify the background color, which, as I taught you guys, that's what you do, and we'll make it teal. And then, what happens if a certain browser can't understand this? What happens is they'll try to mess around with this, and God knows what would happen if we took out style from here, because it's going to ignore everything that it doesn't understand. Basically, this is what happens. See? And we don't want that happening, because that's just how it reacts on Google. God knows how it will react on another browser. So in order to do that, what we want to do is, when we make the style tag, inside the style tag, before we even begin coding or anything, we're going to want to place this entire bit inside comments. That way, if a browser happens to stumble upon this thing and ignores it, it'll also ignore this, because, it'll recognize it as a comment. And inside this comment, we'll start coding our web page, and we'll make it background color /red. But on newer browsers where, style text.css is supported, this means nothing, because in order to make a comment in CSS, you got to do this, backslash this, and then to end a comment, you got to do this, asterisk backslash. So yeah, it'll basically take it'll ignore the comments and just do what we want to do with it. But if it's not support it, it'll just ignore all this and your web page will look pretty bland. But then again, if the monitor, if you the Internet Explorer browser is really that old, obviously back in the day there used to be different things, like you used to make the background color and then you type in like, you do something like that and that would just that's how you used to do it, but it's eliminated in HTML5. Just ignore that though. So yeah, now that we know how to do this, I'm going to teach you guys something else that you can also do. Like I said, a web page could have thousands and thousands of code, like you saw on Google when I loaded it up that one day. Thousands of different, coding. So let's say pretty soon, thousands of different coding and thousands of different, HTML tags and everything. Pretty soon, if you want to style all those, your web page just becomes too long. So that's why we like to use all our CSS generally in a separate folder. So what I like to do is I like to go into I like to make a new folder and call this folder styles. And inside this styles folder, I like to make a new file, and we'll call this standard std_style.css. And you gotta implement that, and we click finish, and then a new CSS page is created. So in this we can type in all our code and make this background color, make it red. And in order to use the external file on our HTML page, remember, external file, we're linking it to our page. You guessed it, link has another purpose. Link is also used to link to a style sheet. Style sheet, and we're gonna want to keep that in actually. And href equals, we're gonna want to go into inside pages, inside styles actually, and inside the styles we're gonna want to go to standard style.css. Sorry. So now basically all that's happening is the this link tag is basically saying, okay, first we're going to get a favicon. What else do we want to link to? We also want to link to a style sheet, which is located in styles/standard_style.css. And as you can see, there won't be any change in the web page when we do this, because if you look at the source, it's basically just implementing all this code onto our server right here. So doing so, we're going to want to mess around with our content a little bit. What I like to do is I like to make stuff like standard style, which basically means all the standard stuff that's going to happen on our web page. And so in the body, we're going to want to make the font family. We're going to make this Courier new, or Courier. Alright, now if we refresh, alright, that's good. We'll center the now I'm actually working on the web page a little bit. We'll center the header. I don't want to get rid of that. And tag and put it on the end. Okay. Now, welcome to the video game Utopia. And we'll make this a different color. I guess now the time will be better as any to explain to you guys something else. Let's say you have different headers. Well, I'm going to make another header, and you also want to make it h1, and you want to call it peruse our database of video game files. Let's say you wanted to include something like that, and you refresh your page, and you want that to be there. If we were to style it up, header 1, and give it a green background, and we refresh, both of these header files have a green background. But let's say I want this to be a different background, but I still want to have the header tag. What we do now is we create an ID of this header. So this is going to be first header, and this is like a different this is a different attribute that the header 1 class takes, and we'll call this ID second header. So now what we do is in CSS, if you want to say if you want to look inside a certain ID of a of an of a header 1 tag, we basically type in the header 1, but inside header 1 we want to look for a certain one. So the ID symbol is this asterisk, is this number, is the pound sign, pound key. So basically in the pound key we're going to put for number, and we're going to want to look for first header. Now inside first header we want just this background color to be green. So now when we refresh the page, as you can see, only the first one is green, and if you want the second one to be, let's say, orange, because orange is an awesome color, we're going to want to go for the header 1, we're going to want to go for second header this time, and we'll make the background color orange. And if you refresh the page, yeah. Now, let's say, well, ID only works if the header 1 tag basically header 1 tag, if there's only one instance where you want to have a green background and you want that certain you know, all the styling to go right there. But let's say you have a you want to do something else with the header 1, the ID, so to speak, of first header, which means you want to carry over all the style onto a different one, because, you know, styling can get pretty big, as you could probably imagine. And let's say right here we want to say something like goodbye from video game Utopia. And let's refresh that, and, you know, let's, oh, by the way, if you're wondering why it's not centered, it's because I'm using the center tag in order to center it, which is probably not the best idea, but I like the center tag over CSS's alternate. Anyways, if you notice, you know, technically this works, yes, but ideally you're gonna want to use for you know, for different if you have more than one different certain tag, I can't really explain it, you're gonna want to change ID with class, and you're gonna make it a certain class of a tag. So basically it says, it's basically the same idea as ID, only difference is you know, class is basically used for more than one and header is basically used for just one. It's just common good CSS practice for that, I mean HTML practice. So as we fill out our web page again, none of these are gonna have anything. That's because we're asking for anything with an ID of first header to be you know, to get all this styling, but we don't have any more ID. We don't have the ID of first header anymore. We have a class of first header. So class, instead of a pound key, gets a period key. So anything with the class of first header, that's an H1, that's a header 1 file, header 1 tag, will get this styling. But let's say we have something else that's not just, you know, a first header thing. It's not a header tag. Let's say we have a P and we want to have it with the same class of first header, paragraph, new paragraph, and be like, please visit again soon. Let's say you wanted to include something like that at the bottom, but, you know, since it's still the class, it's not, you know, it's not green background. We want it to be a green background. So what we do is, generally, you eliminate specifying that it has to be a header 1 file. A header 1 tag. I don't know why I keep on saying file. Basically, now what we're saying is, alright, forget about the fact that it has to be an H1. As long as it has the class of first header, make the background color green. So I'm going to refresh the web page. Since this is a class of first header, and as we specified, the class of first header will have a background color of green. Bada bing, bada boom. The results right in front of you. Just gonna delete all this. We're gonna want to make our body background color red. Yeah, we'll make that. I want to make the color of the text could be green, I guess. Font dash family. We're gonna make that Courier new. Courier. One more thing that the one more thing we can also use is specify the fonts. Actually, no, we don't want to specify the font size. Alright, so now we're going to want to get rid of all of this, except for that image with the link. We're going to get that. Okay. And we'll make this header 3. We'll make this peruse our database. And we'll make this align to the right. By the way, or now we'll look at that. Another tag that attribute that a lot of tags support. God, I'm really mixing up my C++. God, HTML. Sorry about that, guys. Anyways, like I was saying, the align attribute in the image tag takes a parameter of a value of left, center, or right. Okay. So now, if we refresh this, our thing is to the right, and our web page looks a lot cooler. But what I also don't want to do is I want to mess around with each of these tags now. We're going to want to make it an ID now, because this is the only instance of this that we're going to want to create. We're going to call it header. This is our header. And with the we'll make it anything with the ID of header. It's just less for us to type, because one thing only can have the ID of header. Well, more things can have the ID of header, but it's generally good practice to make anything of just one ID, and you'll learn about that way later. Want to make anything with the ID of header. Have a background color of blue. A blue background would look really good, I'm guessing. Okay. And we're going to want to get rid of this so that we can automatically specify the color. And I'm guessing black would look really good on that. Make it light blue, actually. Okay, that's another color. That works. There we go. If you don't want the header to be bold, never mind. What am I talking about? Headers have to be bold. Ignore what I said. And let's say with the header 3, there's only going to be one instance of header 3, so there's no really need to, we'll make this so that, forget about that. Background color there's no background color, but, we'll make it so, I'll show you guys the CSS way of aligning text. Text-align center. So we'll make it so it's at the center of the web page. And now that's one way of doing it, but I just like typing line center. And this CSS also works for the image tag too. We can specify stuff like how much padding we want our image to have. We're going to want to make this 0 pixels. And if you refresh this now, it doesn't really see much. You don't really see much. Alignment. We'll actually change the alignment to center now, and I like to keep my things right here in bold. Don't sue me, I guess. Okay, or that could happen. Should be right at the center. I don't see why it's not doing that. Maybe line break would help. Okay. Image align equals center. That should work. That's really weird. I'll have to look into why that's not doing that. But I guess as of right now, we'll keep the image on the right. We'll say peruse our database, and we'll give our header 3 a background color of yellow. And that way it kind of looks coolish. Now also underneath our header thing, we're gonna want to peruse our database. We're gonna want to add a little paragraph right here, and we're gonna want to really style this up. And then we're gonna give this the ID of database last update. And I don't think you can see the Okay, there you go. There's the ID thingy of it. But there's a underline. We're going to say last. We're going to want to make this bolded. We want to say last update, and then after the bold, we want to say July 28th, 2011, just to let our viewers know when we last updated this site thingy. So we're gonna want to not break a line, but instead of that, actually, yeah, we'll do that. We're gonna want to make this anything with the ID of db underscore last update. Sorry guys, I'm doing this in the middle of this video because I just want to really just show you guys, you know, follow along. I mean, I'm not making it too hard to follow along with. This is a pretty long video, just want to get everything ready. And we'll make this text align center. We'll make the color red. Make padding 0 pixels. If you refresh it, it should okay. We'll make the background color yellow because it actually disappeared into there, so we're gonna want to. That's better. Now if you notice, there's a space in between these two elements. It's basically because of the fact that well, easily put header 3 automatically inserts a break line in between, and in order to fix that, we're gonna have to wait for a little later when I can just show you guys how to really just mess around with way content appears. Another major thing, now that I've taught you guys this, inside the image thing, as you know, we've basically given a link to it, but we want to describe this link. So we'll make it a line. We'll make it a paragraph and align it to the right, and it'll basically say new releases, and it should, if this world likes me, yeah, that's decent-ish. We'll leave that out. We don't need that. But yeah, so in this part, I basically taught you guys about how to include style sheets either, you know, here or in here. And before we go, we just want to make this, so we copy this, and actually we'll cut this out of here because this is a standard style thing. So if we want to link to another page, there's no point in having to unnecessarily load all that stuff. So you can have a combination of external style sheets and internal ones. We'll make this text / CSS, and inside here, there we go, and we'll indent all this. Or there's no need to. Now if we refresh the page, it still looks exactly the same. So yeah, this has been a very long video. In the next part, we'll actually get started with you know, just working on our site a little bit more. I'll actually teach you guys about a very cool thing to fix that little glitch that I taught you guys about. See you guys then.